This is how to make a mech versus monster movie. Pacific Rim 1, honestly, it holds the gold standard for how to do it right, how to make the scale feel large and everything feel epic. You know, what happens when giant monsters rise from the ocean? And our only hope is to build skyscraper-sized monsters to punch them in the face. And that's basically it. That's Pacific Rim. It burst onto our screens and caught us off guard. And it's, I think this part one, because we do not accept that there's a part two. Part one has all of us in a chokehold, for real. It's beautiful. The film still holds up even today. Guillermo del Toro, honestly, he delivered with this one. You know, created it's like an entire event, a visual ballet of like metal, muscle, and madness. So I wanted to talk about it. I recently rewatched the movie and I wanted to talk about what makes this movie so good, where the part two we do not accept failed and this one did it right. You know, what makes Pacific Rim 1 such a masterpiece, in my opinion. So let's start with like its world building. You know, from the first like 5 minutes, I mean, the intro gets you immediately. You know, Pacific Rim, it establishes like this is like a near future Earth under siege by these monsters called kaiju, colossal monsters that emerge from the, an extra dimensional portal in the Pacific Ocean. So, you already see it and it hooks you, that initial scene where you see Gypsy Danger loading up the reactor, the brothers suiting up, everything. It gets you, you feel it. Like, oh, okay, it gets you at the edge of your seat. Like it grabs your attention, But humanity doesn't just, they don't just run and hide. We fight back with these things called Jaegers, giant robotic war machines that each country has joined together to create, to make. Humanity has, like, it reminds me of like Gundam, like humanity finally decided to work together in order to destroy an external force that is trying to kill them. That kind of, it reminds me of that a lot. So each Jaeger is piloted by two people. They have to be in sync. This connection called a drift, like a neural link that each one is kind of like in each other's head. So, that concept, it gets you like, ooh, robots. So it kind of, okay, like robots that are connected with their human, also you can see inspirations. They're like, not inspiration, you can see the similarities with like something like Neon Genesis Evangelion, you understand? So it gets you with that too. That concept is genius, it adds emotion and vulnerability, because if it's just the robots, it can get you like, okay, it's just big robots fighting monsters. But when you add the human element, and not the human element that is like annoying, but the human element that coexists with the robotics, it gets you, the teamwork and the humanity in it. It gets you like the success rate is based on how well these two human beings can connect with each other. That gets you. The film doesn't waste your time, it throws you straight into the chaos. I mean, the opening scene is literally like Riley watching his brother Yancy, get ripped out of the mech like by that kaiju and killed. Then the closing scene of that intro is him landing in the Antarctic with what's left of Gypsy Danger and just barely surviving, So that alone just throws you into the fog of like, oh shit, this isn't even like a, humanity will be kicking their ass or something, or a kiddie friendly movie. No, like there's some really, really serious shit, and that grabs your attention. The visuals, Guillermo del Toro, he didn't just make these fights big, he made them feel big. Every movement in Pacific Rim has weight, and I'm sure you've heard this a lot from other videos, or, you feel it yourself. And that was part of the problems with part two. The mechs move too quickly. They jump and fly like it's some kind of ninja guy, like they're like human beings. No, it's supposed to feel this. Like, I don't even know how many tons of, will I even say hundreds of tons? I don't even know how to measure that for real. Like, this is a giant behemoth, a skyscraper moving. Yo, there is no way it should be moving that way. Even for Gypsy to jump, it has to gain momentum then use a lot of thrusters to even just boost a bit. You understand? Everything has to feel huge. It has to feel heavy. You understand? You feel every punch. It feels, they have to use reactors to push the hand to punch. You understand? Everything has to feel big. You understand? The scale is insane. And I like how they didn't just make everything feel like they could have just gone that way. Like make the buildings around them and all that feel like insignificant, but they didn't. They made it feel like them punching a mech or a kaiju through a skyscraper. It's big. You can't just, they don't dwarf the skyscrapers. They're like smaller than them a bit, because that would have been insane. I mean, those are skyscrapers, but you can still feel the world around them is still gigantic, but they themselves, they tower over it. They don't go to the deepest side. When they go to the deepest sides of the ocean, they still go down, but you can feel that these are still huge, even in the water, so everything feels, I love the scale of it, I love how everything feels heavy. And another genius thing he did is shoot a lot of scenes in, nighttime, in storms, underwater, not really to hide any bad effects or anything, but to make the metal gleam. You understand? When helicopter lights are blasting on the metal and the monsters, everything shows more. You understand? So it makes it pop out. I love that. Each battle is different. I like every battle is different. I love how each kaiju has its own power sets, and each Jaeger too kind of has his own skill set. Like the Typhoon with the blades, the Russian mech that is more of a rock solid pounder. I think that's one gripe I have with the part one. I really wish we saw more of the other mechs. I know it's a movie. If it was a series, yeah, we would have been able to see more fight scenes. But I know it's a movie, so there's limited time. But I really wish we saw more of Typhoon, because Typhoon and the other mech, they got cooked so not so easily, because it was a bad matchup. The kaijus had evolved and had the right tool set to destroy the Jaegers in front of them. Gypsy is just built different, and it has a nuclear reactor, so the EMP couldn't work. But apart from that, I love how each one is different. Those Australian brothers, I always love their accent. For real, Eureka. Everything is different. This one is faster. This one is more agile. This one is a hulking tank. So it makes it more unique. It makes it more dynamic. Gypsy Danger versus Knifehead. The Ocean Storm, that kind of claustrophobic combat. It added emotional stakes. You understand? Like you could see the destruction of the city. It wasn't catastrophic. The city is destroyed, but it's not a lot of things. And I think part 2 made that problem. They make it seem like these two mechs should be able to destroy way more than they actually should. You understand? They can destroy things, but don't make it too much. You understand? Even the double kaiju attack on Hong Kong, I love the different type of fights. Now why neon city lights, with we see Striker, Crimson Typhoon, and then Chrono Alpha, a 3-on-2 kaiju brawl. It's beautiful, it's chaotic. I love it. I love when Striker Eureka is running in the water. That whole scene was insane. That scene would have been okay in the daytime, but it wouldn't have been as crazy. But he knew that if he had made it nighttime, now the helicopters, and that's another thing I want to touch on, the way they are integrate. I love how the part 1 shows you how much it takes to get these behemoths, not just even into the water or on land or anywhere, not just into the fight, but during the fight and then after. It shows you all the support staff that ready the pilots, ready the mechs, ready the Jaegers, the everything, and the Jaegers don't look clean. That's what I think part 2 got wrong. If you're using something steadily, you will maintain it, yes, but no matter how much you maintain something, it's going to see some wear and tear. You understand? There's going to be stains, there's going to be wear and tear and all that. You can see it in the pilot cockpits, on the pilot armor themselves. You understand? There's wear and tear. The Jaegers itself. I mean, this thing is constantly fighting kaijus. It's gonna have, it's gonna look worn out. You understand? So that's something that made it look better. You understand? Then even during the fighting, helicopters buzzing around, mission control, controlling everything, helicopters shining lights and giving support. You understand? Ships. Everything goes into a kaiju battle. It shows that it's all of humanity hoping, praying that this beast, that this monster they created is much stronger than the other monster trying to kill them. You understand? So all that adds to the tension, and it adds to the realism of the whole thing. So now come on, didn't I say more about the sound and music? The music, it gets your blood pumping. I don't know how many of us are guilty of searching the YouTube soundtracks on YouTube for Pacific Rim 1. Yo, it's crazy. Yo, like that initial track, you can feel it. It gets your blood pumping. Like, oh, what's going on? Every fight, it gets you ready for the next fight. Like Pacific Rim has some of the best, soundtrack in a movie. Like, I mean, in a movie like this, sci-fi movie ever, for real. When the kaijus roar, the sound of metal, thunder, that primal rage, it's beautiful. Rami Djawadi, I'm sorry if I butchered that name, my bad. But yes, he's the Game of Thrones composer too. He created the theme that screams this heroic metal fury. The electric guitar, with the kind of drums you can hear in the background. So everything just mashes together and then gives us this beauty of this beauty of a soundtrack. And then the drift system is a very nice integration, because like I said earlier, it adds the human element, requiring 2 pilots, so they don't have to be family. I mean, we first start with Yancy and Riley, but then his brother dies, so Riley has to now partner with Mako, who has her own trauma. And even Riley too has his own, but he's more of an experienced pilot. Of course, she's a new pilot, so she doesn't really know how to control her feelings first, and we almost see them blow up the whole station. So like it goes back to my point of like, these are monsters that we created. They can mess shit up, so we gotta still be careful with them, especially when you add that if it was just normal piloting, there wouldn't have been those stakes to it. But you adding that emotional human element, it adds more stakes. Understand? Because this thing is not just a piloting mech, it involves human emotions, which is something that's unpredictable. So you got to be careful. It adds that that beauty in it. Riley and Marco's bonds. Pentecost and Marco's kind of father-daughter dynamic, adoptive father dynamic. Even minor pilots have personality too. I love the Aussies. We all love the Aussies, and we all love their dog. So I love that all these minor characters, the scientists going on their own little excursion, I would call it, in Hong Kong. That I don't know why they decided to make him a crazy bad guy in part 2. That was so crazy. But we do not talk about part 2. Maybe I'll do another video of it later. So yeah, the movie, Guillermo del Toro, he's a filmmaker who loves monsters, but more importantly, he respects them. Even kaiju, they have their own unique designs and personality. It's not just cannon fodder. They're a living threat, and that final fight was, insane. I mean, you have to go to their home world to do all that. The Jaegers, they feel like representations of the countries that, not countries, let's say the spheres, because not just one countries. There's all of humanity that came together. Parts from here, resources from here, everything from here. You understand? So they all feel like they are representations of their own respective spheres of humanity that came together to fight this existential threat. So a decade later, it holds up well. While the sequels and all the spin-off cartoons, I don't know, they're just there, I guess. The movie, nothing. I don't think there's anything they can do that can really beat Pacific Rim Part 1, which is the problem. I guess it's a problem we are always facing when you do something so well the first time. How do you live up to that? Not a lot of movies, TV shows, games, cartoons, not a lot of them live up to the hype of their first iteration. So I guess it's just something we're going to have to live with. So let me know your thoughts, guys. I mean, I'm sure you enjoyed Pacific Rim 1, but let me know why you enjoyed it. What do you love about it? Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you guys in the next video.